introduce our second speaker, who is Arvin Brown. He has 2 decades of experience in the field of aging and disability services, organizational performance excellence, and results management. And he is our current section manager for the Program Integrity Unit. But you may not know that he originated in our health insurance counseling program. So with that, I will hand the reins over to Mr. Arvin Brown.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. And I was shocked to see the Butterfinger comment because I do like the Butterfinger Blizzard. So get out of my head, please.
Maybe next time.
All right. All right. So I hope everyone's having a good afternoon. Hopefully we won't keep you much longer, but what I'm here to do today is tell you a little bit about what program integrity does. That seems to be a popular question, because, we sit in our corner and we do things with the data system, but, there's still a question of what actually happens over there in program integrity. So Kathy already established protocol with the department's mission and vision, so we'll just go forward. This is our meaning DAS's mission and vision statements, and you may have seen those in some of the previous days, but the vision is living longer, living safely, living well, and the mission is we support the larger goals of DHS by assisting older individuals, at-risk adults, persons with disabilities, and their families and caregivers to achieve safe, healthy, independent, and self-reliant lives. And I put that in red for a reason. We'll talk about it a little later, but those are the driving aspects of our business, and especially in program integrity, as we try to detail what the division has done or is doing in terms of our customers, and these are the driving factors of what we should be doing. All of the programs should be doing for our customers. Program Integrity's mission is to provide information and to support DAS and the AAAs and their providers to assist in making valid decisions regarding their programs and policies that reinforces DAS's mission to enhance the lives of older Georgians, their families, and caregivers. So we're basically a support office for the division. We're not a programmatic section, but we do provide support for all of the sections within the Division of Aging Services, as well as the AAAs and other contractors. This is our org chart. We are 13 members within Program Integrity, and we have a +1. And off to, I guess, my right, you have Larry Robb, who is on loan to us. He works closely with us. He's from the Office of Information Technology within DHS, but he tends to like our floor a lot better, so he sits with us. He's very versed in our programs and how our data is arranged. He's been with us for a long, long period of time with our legacy system now, and as we moved into our new system. So Larry understands our business. The section consists of 3 team leads and 3 distinct teams. The first team lead is for the database management. That's Chris Johnson is the team lead there, and his team consists of Alexis Jefferson, who is our help desk specialist, and Teresa Young, who is our report integrity specialist. She does a lot of QA work for us in the way of reports and documentation. I'm going to skip over that second line of blocks and jump to the other team lead, which is Jack Rivers for data analytics. His team consists of Simret Medhane, who I believe is on the line now. She just started last week, so welcome to you, Simret, as well as the others who have just joined DAS, and also Madhu Malik, who is working as, again, a data analyst. And the other team, the third team, is led by Darlene Spears, and this is a report development team, and that consists of Verna Richelieu and Sunita Davis. So the team leads report directly to me, as well as this third block third group of blocks here. You've got Nicole Hodge, who's our quality advisor, Sharon Hudson, who manages our federal reporting, and our very own Jennifer Hogan, who is really our emergency preparedness guru, as well as our trainer, and many different hats that she wears in the section. So we appreciate Jennifer for what she does. So in terms of what our key activities are, the first area that I wanted to highlight is data management. And that really means the ongoing maintenance and enhancements of our data system. So we do have a system now, and some of you may or may not know, we've been in this system now for about 4.5, 5 years. We decided to move to a newer platform after being in a system that was homegrown. The staff within DAS in each section helped build that legacy system. It was called AIMS, but it gotten a little long in the tooth and a little less agile in terms of adding new programs and services quickly. And so we made the decision that we needed to jump to something a little more modern. And we're in this current system. We call it the DAS data system, but it's known by other names as it's an off-the-shelf product. When it's bought by new companies, their name changes. But when we first procured the system, it was a Harmony system. Then it was bought by a company and it was called Metaware. And then it was bought by another company and is currently known as WellSky, which is why we just named it the DAS data system. So we don't have to keep chasing names in any of our documentation. We just call it DDS, DAS data system. So what our activity is focusing on fixing and enhancing the system. So if things break, we fix that. If we need to add new elements to the system, we have the ability to do that, but not necessarily programmatic policy decisions. So we work in conjunction with the programs to make sure that they have the knowledge to share with the actual staff, the data entry staff that are using the system, and they can provide some guidance. And we don't want to get in between what their guidance is and what we believe, air quotes, should be the right way for them to entering data. So we don't arbitrarily get in the way of our programmatic policy decisions. But again, in terms of fixing, enhancing the system, that's what we can do. We do help the programs to update their user manuals. Each program within the division has a user manual, how-to manual for their module of the DDS system. And we try to keep that updated on at least an annual basis or as updates occur to their modules. And this is for, new users coming in, so that if you're a new user, you're not starting off kind of in a blind area. You have a reference tool to at least show you where to click and how to enter data and give you some idea of why that data is being entered that way. And also, in terms of data management, is the DDS help desk. We man a help desk for our statewide users when there are issues that come up around the state. They can call in or email in to the help desk and we assist them. Now, we do have a two-pronged help desk. When it's an issue that has arisen that is not necessarily something that we can fix, then we have to refer that to our IT vendors help desk, WellSky's help desk for assistance. But internally, most of the time we're getting password resets. We need to make a modification to a record. Someone's locked out of the system, so it's usually smaller things, but or someone's using the wrong browser and they can't function in a part of their module. So we get issues like that through the help desk, and most of the time we can handle it. We get about 400 help desk requests a month. Report development is another key activity for us. We create and validate reports for both state and local use. We've got a team, as I mentioned on the org chart, that does that pretty much nonstop, but we've got redundancy across the org chart where just about everyone can create reports. The reports actually land in two areas. We've got a HAR database, which stands for Harmony Advanced Reporting, and reports reside within the DDS, the WellSky production system as well. The difference is the HAR site is about 24 hours later. The data is not real time, but more people have, well, not more people have access to the WellSky production if you got a login, but all of the reports that folks tend to use are the reports that are HAR, that are residing in HAR, and we develop those. WellSky developed some reports for us, which is why it's within the production environment. But our team developed many of the reports in HAR, and those seem to be the ones that the statewide users trust and tend to use the more often. And we also handle ad hoc data requests. We get data requests from all directions. It could come from the commissioner's office, the governor's office, other states, from students at universities. So wherever the ad hoc data request comes in, if we don't have a standard report for it, we can query the database and get that information that's being requested out. Another big activity is user provisioning and recertification. I mentioned our legacy system. We'd been in that system for 15 years and never been audited. In the final year, when we were turning it off and about to turn on our new DAS data system, we got audited. The good thing is the only issue that really came up was access management, making sure that folks had the right roles and the right views to data, and they weren't being able to see things that they shouldn't see. And you can hear hints of HIPAA in my comment here. And so a lot of privacy and confidentiality segmentation needed to happen. And so we've got about 94 different roles within the DDS system right now. And those are really roles that are individual to the different programs. So, you know, we just heard Kathy's presentation. APS probably has about 6 or 8 roles for their users themselves. And so all of the different programs within DAS have a variety of roles that allow their staff to see certain things, and they can't go beyond a certain point. Management using data is another key activity in this first area that I'm talking about, because we want to make sure that we are appraised of what the programs are doing and the results that the programs are getting. And we also want to make sure that the programs are watching their performance. And so we do some data analysis, and we have to check with the programs to make sure that the report numbers that we're pulling are correct. And so that's where, again, we're working in concert with the programs to make sure that the data is timely, accurate, and complete in the system. And we're just not running a report, and it may not be the most accurate data because of whatever contingency or circumstance is happening within the programmatic realm. So we check with programs and stay in contact with program staff at all points to make sure the data is accurate. And finally here is NAPIS reporting, and the Administration for Community Living, ACL, is our primary funder for the Older Americans Act services, and we have to report to them on an annual basis to maintain our funding stream from ACL. And so again, the thought process here is we're reporting counts to them, basically how many meals we served, how many caregivers we provided service to. And so it's just outputs that we're reporting to ACL, and they're fine with that. But if our numbers drop below the previous year's numbers, then, you know, they consider reducing the allocation that we get, which is then sent to the AAAs as their primary funding. And so we again, want to keep watch on how well we're serving clients, and if we can serve more, we definitely want to do that, because that protects the funding we got, and that enables us to serve more clients, and it becomes a continuous cycle for us. Okay. So our second key activity that we engage in is continuous quality improvement. And you can see out to the right, I've got a PDCA cycle, which is Plan, Do, Check, Act, which is a quality tool and a management tool for making sure that the plans you have are performing as you expect them to perform. So you plan, you create your plan, you execute your plan, then you check the results of your plan. And if the results are not where you expect them to be, you act on that by making adjustments to your plan, and then you keep going. So it's a continuous cycle. And that's related to the first bullet here, the State Plan on Aging, which is a plan that we have to submit to ACL every 4 years. And so in developing that plan, we have to have statewide hearings. So we go to every corner of the state and we hear from the clients there in terms of what they think they need, what they want us to start, stop, or change. And that helps us to plan for the future, for the next 4 years. And we have measures associated with that. That's what we consider as our strategic plan. But strategic plans don't stop there. We also have to align that with the department's strategic plan, DHS's strategic plan, as well as the governor's office's strategic plan. They have their own, and so we have to pull out measures that we were using that align with the pillars and the overarching goals of those two strategic plans to make sure they align, and we insert those there so that we're not creating work if we don't have to. If we've already got a plan that syncs nicely with what DHS is trying to achieve, and as well as the governor's office is trying to achieve, then we use those measures as well. And DHS definitely watches our measures, and they look at the activities associated with the measures on a monthly basis. And so that keeps us on our toes on a monthly basis, making sure that we can report that to them as they report out to those decision makers that they're reporting out to. We have outcome and performance measures that we have to definitely keep a track of. And DAS is a little unique from some of the other state offices that you may be familiar with. I know DFACS has, federal funders that require them to do certain performance measures. We don't have that. We don't have federal requirements from our funders. We have to develop those internally. And we develop those through the lens of what difference does our programs and services make for our clients? Are we getting a return on investment for our clients? And so we develop those measures internally. We at leadership level ponder what those measures are. We definitely work with the different programs to come up with measures, and we think it's a good measure. We put it into practice and we monitor it to see if it's going to tell us what we expect to see, or if we need to go back to the drawing board and come up with alternate measures that give us performance. Just the facts annual report is another thing that we develop within program integrity, and that tells our story. It has all of the program's information in it in terms of their outcome, performance measure, their output measures, what happened during the year. And so that's a document that we are bound by state law to produce. Here in the past year, the department has decided that they wanted to fold that into the department's overall annual report. So we don't necessarily have to produce that document and send it into the governor's office. It's folded in with the departments, but we still create the document because there's a lot of information that's going to be asked of us throughout the year, and it's an easy document to go and thumb through and find that information. And you can see some of the previous versions of that, as well as previous state plans on our website at aging.ga.gov if you want to look at that and get an idea of what those look like. We also provide policy updates on OTIS, and if you don't know what OTIS is, that's where all of the policy that DAS has goes, as well as the departments, and it stands for Online Directive Information System. And so we keep our policies updated, as well as the other programs in the office. And I do a little marketing for the office. So we don't have a big marketing budget. We use money that comes out of the Title VII dollars that we get from the Older Americans Act. It's a small amount of money, but we can maximize that by having radio ads and television ads just to get the word out that the Division of Aging Services exists. And hopefully we will get calls from that. And when we are marketing, we tend to see an uptick in the calls to our 888 number. So it tends to happen. And as we get additional funding, we tend to market more. Just wanted to bring back those red items that were in the mission a little bit and talk about performance and outcome measures. So pause a minute. As I had highlighted, achieve a safe, healthy, independent, and self-reliant life. So that's our mission. You know, the majority, if not all, of our performance measures should be able to measure back to our mission. And some of the measures that we have in place now are the percent of initial adult protective services client visits that occur within 10 calendar days of intake. So that is pointing directly at achieve safe life. The number of individuals that transition from nursing facilities back into the community. That is a direct correlation to independent and self-reliant lives. People who don't want to live in the nursing home, they want to go back home sometimes. And if they're able to, then some of the programs that we offer transition them out of nursing facilities back into community living. The number of months that HCBS, home and community-based services participants, delay nursing facility placements is very similar to the transitions out of nursing facilities measure. But a lot of times we're serving the frailest of the frail clients, and many of them look like nursing home clients. And so it makes sense for us to try to delay placement in the nursing facilities if we can, and to track that, and we do. Right now, I think that's around 50 months. We delay nursing facility placement for about 50 months. And that was a measure that we came up with on our own within the division, but we had it validated by a research institution in Washington. We and Rhode Island actually did it at the same time. And so we know it's a good measure. It tends to show outcome to the Gold Dome. And when I say the Gold Dome, I mean the legislators. I think it's a good measure for us to have to show what difference our services are making for clients, because folks want to stay home. Also, this is an output measure, but it shows the volume of business that's coming in, the number of ADRC contacts, and this is helping with staying independent and self-reliant as well. People who contact the ADRC, Aging and Disability Resource Connection, are usually calling in looking for resources or services for their parents, for themselves. They have an aging family member that they really don't know what they might need, and so that directs them to the AAAs or whatever other resources needed, and eventually into some type of service or support that will help them. So that's a good measure to have. And finally, clients retaining employment for 6 months. Again, that's self-reliant all day long, because again, if you can take care of yourself and by having employment, then you're definitely influencing the self-reliance. So I just wanted to show you some of the measures that are actually in practice within DAS that we watch and the programs watch, and they measure back to the mission. All right, so going to our third key activity area, we have research and evaluation. So we do a little bit of research on our own. We sometimes apply for grants, or we help other programs that have applied for grants with data gathering or whatever the grant requirements may be. We participate with the Livable Community section in ongoing food security research. Food security is basically, whether or not the clients are hungry or not. And that's a big deal. That's starting to get a national presence now. It has gotten a national presence. You know, how many clients are food insecure and what we're going to do about it. There's also, I think, a cabinet level work group at the governor's office that's still in existence. That's looking at food security for the state. So again, any type of research we can do to help further that endeavor, we're definitely going to involve ourselves in that. We do case audit reviews for APS, Adult Protective Services, Public Guardianship, and Central Intake. And what that involves is just checking the documentation, making sure that all of the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted. Not as a ding, because, we are an internal resource for these 3 programs, but just to show where there may be some opportunities for improvement in what their workers are doing, or where they're doing a great job. So not necessarily just the negative, but also showing where they're having a positive impact in their documentation in the system, in the DDS system. I mentioned the grants management already. We also look at census data, and census data is very important because it drives our IFF development, and IFF stands for Intrastate Funding Formula. And what that is that's the funding formula that we use to disperse funds to the 12 area agencies on aging. And so the census data really gives us the key demographic information for I guess the population that the AAAs determine they want to highlight and be, I guess, subject to for their funding formula. And so I'll show you what the IFF looks like in a second. But that's important because, again, it drives the funding that each AAA gets, and that funding in turn serves the clients that the AAAs are trying to serve. And finally, within the research and evaluation bucket, we do Tableau and data visualizations. We've got a lot of expertise in using Tableau. It's similar to the geographical information system, but it can do a lot of data analytics. It can show us some visualizations in terms of the charts and graphs that we can develop, as well as maps where we can show where, let's say, for instance, APS clients are versus where their case managers are living. And if that's a great distance, then we might want to reevaluate if that case manager needs to keep that caseload or reassign or switch with another case manager. So, maps are, as they say, worth, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that's where we excel in doing some visualizations for the programs within DAS. So saying a little more about the interstate funding formula, currently we use census and the American Community Survey 5-year estimates, and that's applied to the allocation that the AAAs gets. Census data is considered the best available data for population elements used in our IFF formula, and that's what ACL considers it. And after the 2020 census is released, we'll begin vetting a new IFF meeting and have meetings with the AAAs and stakeholders to develop that. So it's not necessarily a top-down process where DAS is making that decision on what the IFF will look like, but we get input from the community, we get input from the AAAs, we take that into account, but we do have the final say in terms of what we think is best for the entire state. So in talking about this formula, it's just basically factors and weights, and then Blake's area assigns the dollars to this. And so the second column, 2004 column, shows what it's been, for the last 10 years, prior to 2014. The AAAs decided that they wanted to place a greater weight on the population 60 plus. And that's probably because the Older Americans Act tells us that that's what our client base is for those who are 60 and older. That's who we serve. Also, low income minority, 65 plus. 65 is different from the 60 because that's just how the census captures it. So we have to use the 65 for that. Again, the AAAs decided they wanted to keep that particular factor and weight at 10%. Bringing in rural 60 plus, the decision was to keep that weight at 13%. If you had a disability, 65 and older, 10%, and limited English speaking 65, the decision was 2%. So we fast forward to 2014 when we had a major change in what we wanted the factors to be and how the weights were adjusted for the formula. The 60 plus was taken down to 10% from 50, but they wanted to add a population of 75 plus, and they boosted that up to 30%. Kept low income minority, but raised it to 13%. We increased rural 60 plus to 15%, kept disabled 65 plus at 10%, but we raised the limited English speaking 65 plus up to 4%. And the AAAs decided they wanted to add an element, in addition to the 75 plus, living alone 65 plus, and that was at 8%. So all that adds up to 100%. But in any event, this is who they should be serving. This is who they should be targeting, and these are the weights that they wanted associated with that. And associated with these weights are the funding that each of the AAAs gets. And I'll just say that the population is really at the Macon line and above. We're losing a lot of population below Macon, and those AAAs are really struggling to definitely keep their lights on, if you will. And I know Blake uses that term a lot, but you know, the rural southern part of Georgia is really emptying out, and that's something that I don't know that we're going to ever be able to influence. But maybe, you know, with policy making and decision making at the capital level, you know, if we get more industry in at the southern part of the state, maybe more people will stay or more people will flock down there. But in any event, the population is basically the biggest driver of this formula, and if you're not where the population is, then your allocation is smaller. So the final activity area for program integrity is emergency preparedness and business continuity. And that involves developing internal and external plans to address safety at the state office, and for older Georgians doing emergency situations. So we've got an evacuation plan for new staff as they come in, just to show you where to go if you want to exit the building. If you have to exit the building by the staircase, you'll know where that is, and where our huddle zone is, where we're supposed to end up after we evacuate the building. And so Jennifer does a good job of keeping that updated. Also, state staff, we staff the state EOC, which is the Emergency Operations Center, doing emergency events. So like the snowstorm that happened several years ago, I believe we had staff in there, and Jennifer is usually the one who's in there coordinating issues from the aging angle. If there are any problems that we're having from the aging side, she communicates that with our AAAs and with the emergency personnel to make sure that our older and vulnerable adults are taken care of. LMS, Learning Management System Coordinator, is again what Jennifer does for us. And also the cell phone management. Not everyone has a cell phone, but a lot of APS staff do, and some others on the floor does. And if you lose your phone, or if your phone is broken or what have you, she coordinates getting that fixed for you. So we appreciate what she does. You know, she kind of doesn't look like what the rest of program integrity is, but we'll keep her anyway. And so that's it for me. Thank you for participating. And if you have questions, you can certainly email me. I didn't have my phone number down here since we're not in the office, but I can certainly share that, or again, email gets me.